the industry's most infamous stirrer, 50 Cent, has officially been aware of the major dispute between one of hip-hop's most protective fathers, T, and his daughter, Deja Harris, which has left the internet in complete disbelief. As everyone knows, Tip goes above and beyond in his job as a girl dad, frequently igniting heated national discussions about parenting limits and privacy. However, the most recent allegations coming out of the Harris household have escalated the situation beyond anyone's expectations. 50 Cent doesn't just stand by and watch when he learns about a scenario this chaotic. He plunges headfirst into the mayhem with his renowned trolling and brutal criticism. This is no longer only a little family dispute. Everyone is being forced to take a side in this high-stakes public showdown. Everyone is wondering whether T can truly defend his name this time, or if 50 Cent's harsh response is the last straw that will destroy the King of the South's reputation. As the headlines keep getting bigger, we are dissecting every single aspect of the accusations, the subliminal meanings in the social media posts, and the precise moment the Gunnet billionaire made the decision to comment and permanently alter the story. Keep checking back as we unravel the layers of this explosive family drama and examine how a relationship turned into the focal point of a worldwide media frenzy that is currently taking over every timeline and newsfeed in the entertainment industry. A legacy that has been developed over decades is in danger of being destroyed by the aftermath from these charges. As the digital landscape is changing quickly, the evidence is growing, and 50 Cent is making sure that nothing is overlooked. From removed Instagram stories to specific Twitter subliminals, this story has reached a breaking point that is impossible to ignore. Regardless of whether you are a fan of the Atlanta great or a devotee of the 50 Cent school of pandemonium, when social media users spotted a string of cryptic messages and removed posts that suggested a major rift was building between T and Deja, tensions started to rise. Many speculated that the old scars from past public crises had never fully healed. The Harris family has been navigating the challenges of celebrity for years, but the most recent disclosures point to a degree of control and surveillance that many fans find quite disconcerting in the present day. Most people anticipated a conventional PR statement or a quiet conclusion behind closed doors when the rumors initially surfaced on blogs. However, things drastically changed when 50 Cent chose to use his enormous platform to draw attention to how ridiculous the assertions were. 50, who is well known for his ability to make any celebrity incident go viral, didn't stop back and posted a number of replies that both ridiculed the intense King of the South persona that Tip had spent decades developing and questioned T's parenting techniques. 50 Cent's quick intervention acted as a trigger, transforming a private family issue into a public spectacle as millions of fans watched closely to see how the Atlanta great would react to the taunting from the New York rapper. As industry insiders started to divulge details about the climate within the Harris residence, describing a situation where the distinction between possession and protection had become dangerously hazy, mood grew even more tense. Those close to the family said that, as the story progressed from lighthearted gossip to a serious conversation about respect and autonomy, the accusations started to damage T's reputation and put him in a defensive stance that he rarely finds himself in. By using memes and old videos to remind the world of T's earlier contentious remarks about his daughter's private life, 50 Cent's involvement added a dimension of humorous cruelty to the situation, making it almost impossible for the public to move on from the topic. Soon, there were a plethora of discussions on the internet, with some people supporting T's freedom to parent however he sees appropriate, and the vast majority supporting 50 Cent's view that the lines had long since been crossed. The specifics of the new allegations started to surface, painting a picture of a household run by rigid rules that many believed were antiquated and detrimental to a young woman's growth in the spotlight. This initial wave of outrage was merely the beginning. Every post from Deja was scrutinized for hidden messages, and every quiet from T was seen as an admission of guilt. This created a pressure cooker atmosphere that was bound to blow up the instant a frontal confrontation took place. By interacting with both fans and critics, 50 Cent kept the topic hot and effectively took on the role of unofficial narrator of the Harris family's most trying public moment to date. This was more than one incident. It concerned a behavioral tendency that had ultimately reached a breaking point. There was nowhere left for anyone engaged to escape from the glaring light of public opinion when everyone was watching. The discussion swiftly shifted from the particulars of the current assertion to a more general examination of how offspring of celebrities find it difficult to express themselves when their parents are enormously self-important and conceited. While T has always advocated for family values and the idea of leaving a legacy, Critics noted that his approach appeared to put control over his children's mental health first, a stance that 50 repeated in his increasingly regular social media posts, by posing rhetorical questions that made people reconsider their support for the King of the South. The Gunnet chief took advantage of his supporters' curiosity while keeping a tone that struck a balance between humor and sincere incredulity. These two had previously encountered each other negatively. However, this dispute felt far more important than a typical rap feud because of its intimate nature. A feedback cycle that kept the story alive on all major entertainment platforms was created as further conjecture and 50 Cent commentary filled the void left by the Harris camp's lack of an official denial throughout the course of the days. Fans started going through previous episodes of their reality family show, searching for indications of the conflict, which was now being described as a serious crisis, and the findings only served to fuel the flames. The picture of the ideal, cohesive family turned out to be a facade that was rapidly disintegrating under the weight of these fresh discoveries. Many expressed concern about how Deja was managing the sudden surge of interest in her personal life, particularly with 50 Cent throwing such a harsh spotlight on her father's alleged behavior. The psychological impact on Deja was also a prominent topic of discussion. The public's hunger for information was unquenchable, and the underlying problem was grave. Notwithstanding the humor 50 brought to the table, it was challenging for T to advertise any of his other commercial endeavors or musical endeavors because every action he took on social media was greeted with inquiries about his daughter. The story had been taken over, and for the first time in his career, the well-spoken and self-assured T appeared to be at a loss for words as he tried to regain the narrative without making matters worse. 50 Cent continued to make fun of the situation with a relentless energy that only he can sustain. And this quiet was viewed as a success. 50 was using the internet to instantly destroy a competitor's reputation, giving the industry a masterclass in narrative management, all the while asserting that, like everyone else, he was simply responding to the news. The boundaries between gossip, comedy, and sincere concern were blurred, resulting in a distinctively contemporary drama that is only possible in the hyper-connected world of today. The strain had been building for months, if not years, as we can see when we examine the chronology of events more closely, and all it took was a tiny spark to start a chain reaction that would eventually engulf the most well-known figures in the culture. As the world got ready for the next phase of this developing story, the participants were famous, the stakes were high, and the result was still up in the air, when additional detailed accusations emerged about the extent of T.I.'s purported surveillance of his daughter's everyday activities and social relationships. The pressure reached an all-time high and there was a huge spike in internet searches for the family's past. These allegations, which included digital tracking and a stringent screening procedure for anyone wishing to join her inner circle, which many saw as an extraordinary overreach of parental authorities, suggested that the surveillance went well beyond what had previously been acknowledged in public. 50 Cent took advantage of the situation to intensify his criticism, implying that such actions were more indicative of ingrained insecurity than sincere concern for a child's welfare. He started drawing comparisons between T's conduct in real life and his on-screen image, making fun of the notion that a man who built his career on concepts of freedom and hustling could be so constrictive inside his own four walls. A significant portion of the audience found resonance in this criticism, believing that T's purported activities were just exacerbating the double standards already applied to young women in society. As the debate progressed, it became evident that this was a broader societal topic concerning the rights of adult children and the development of parenting in the era of social media. Rather than only a quarrel between two rappers, the Harris family was caught in the middle of an fade-out that happens with celebrity scandals and enforcing a level of accountability that is uncommon in the entertainment industry. News outlets picked up the story, and legal experts weighed in on the implications of the reported behavior. The King of the South's supporters attempted to shift the focus of the discussion to the risks associated with being a celebrity parent and the necessity of safeguarding against the industry's exploitative practices. However, the sheer amount of criticism generated by 50's wit frequently overshadowed these debates. Hip-hop musicians became divided as a result of the back and forth, with some staying mute to avoid the backlash and others subtly liking or sharing postings that supported one side. As followers searched for any indications of trouble or requests for assistance in Deja's previous images and captions, her digital imprint became a central focus of the investigation, sparking a flurry of amateur detective work across multiple platforms. With each hour that went by, a new aspect of the story was revealed, showing a complicated web of familial allegiance, societal expectations, and the battle for personal identity in the shadow of a renowned parent. The story was progressing at a breakneck speed. 50 Cent's job as the provocateur was working flawlessly, because he was able to remain entertaining and relevant while bringing attention to an issue that many believed had been overlooked for far too long. Business transactions and public appearances were beginning to be impacted by the scandal, which made it obvious that a straightforward apology or a family photo opportunity would not be sufficient to appease the millions of people who were now interested in how this drama turned out. Family psychology specialists started commenting on the popular videos, examining the body language in old reality show scenes when, in retrospect, the tension between the father and daughter was evident. It was more difficult for T to write off the current accusations as media fabrications or in light of this retrospective examination of the Harris family dynamic, thousands of people were concurrently scrubbing and analyzing the family's digital footprint, compiling a communal recall of all of their mistakes and awkward public moments. By repeating the most harmful videos with popular captions, 50 Cent capitalized on this group effort and made sure the discourse never deviated too far from his original goal. The Gunnet mogul said that he was just interested in the entertainment value of witnessing a self-proclaimed king battle to keep order in his own castle. Despite the fact that it had a significant impact on his own involvement, the pressure on T's other children to speak up or take a stand grew as public opinion continued to turn against him, complicating an already unstable situation. The deafening quiet from the rest of the Harris household sparked further conjecture about whether the family was only attempting to weather the storm in secret or whether there were internal gag orders. Every new development was greeted by a barrage of memes and TikTok breakdowns that further reduced the complexity of the real lived experience of people affected by simplifying the complicated family concerns into easily shared content. 50 Cent continued to be the focal point of this storm, serving as both the broadcaster and the lightning rod, demonstrating once more that his proficiency with social media is possibly his most powerful tool in any dispute. A public image that had been meticulously cultivated over 2 decades completely collapsed in front of the world, and the pace at which it was occurring served as a sobering reminder of how brittle celebrity can be in the face of the internet's unbridled power and the advent of someone who knows just where to strike. The emphasis is moving from what was said to what will be done as we enter the next round of this controversy. There is no space for error or miscalculation on the part of anyone concerned as the claim's social and legal ramifications start to materialize in real time. The industry eagerly awaited a direct response from T that may counter 50 Cent's harsh remarks and clear his name as the financial and social stakes were rising. But Harris's quiet simply served to confirm the doubters and provide him with more material for his daily onslaught of tweets on social media. When close friends of both parties started to voice their opinions, the situation took a drastic turn. Some claimed that the two rappers had been at odds for years and that this family matter was just the ideal pretext for a long-awaited confrontation. This revelation gave the events an additional dimension of personal grudge, implying that 50 Cent was not only defending Deja but also trying to make amends with a rival who he believed had always been very self-righteous. As the prospect of a face-to-face encounter or a poetic exchange began to be discussed in music circles, the public's interest increased. T.I.'s reputation as a thoughtful, articulate leader was being put to the test like never before. Even though most people agreed that the battle was being fought and won in the digital arena, his typical long-winded explanations were being met with skepticism and mockery by a generation that values transparency and personal freedom above all else. Even his most devoted supporters found it difficult to overlook the discrepancy between his polished public persona and the unvarnished assertions arising from the circumstance. 50 Cent took advantage of this by drawing attention to the inconsistencies in T's earlier comments, citing instances in which the rapper had defended liberties and rights that he was now charged with depriving his own daughter. 50 Cent demonstrated his ability to destroy an opponent's persona without ever having to record a diss track by strategically using the rapper's own words against him. This was a classic 50 Cent tactic. As the narrative reached its climax, attention turned to how this would affect the Harris family dynamic in the long run and whether a reunion was really feasible considering the degree of public humiliation involved. The world watched as the Hustle and family empire's previously unbreakable foundation appeared to crumble under the pressure of scrutiny, leading everyone to question whether this would be the pivotal event that permanently altered the Southern King's legacy. Even though the jokes were over, 50 Cent's final remarks on the subject implied that the lessons learned from this episode would last for years to come and serve as a warning to anyone who believes their private life can remain truly private when the world is constantly watching and passing judgment. The story of the Harris family and the Gannett leader is proof of the ability of social media to quickly change people's reputations, leaving a trail of viral moments and unresolved issues that will be discussed long after the news has moved on to the next big topic. This circumstance demonstrates how celebrity culture is changing, with stars' personal lives being part of the larger story that defines their careers and audience connection rather than being off-limits. Beyond the entertainment blogs, the aftermath has caused educators and social workers to have serious conversations about the limits of parental authority in high-stress situations. As the digital dust settles, it is evident that T will have a difficult journey ahead of him if he wants to win back the public's faith and, more crucially, mend the relationship with his daughter that has been put to the test in such a public setting. In the meantime, 50 Cent has demonstrated once more that he is the unquestionable master of the viral moment. With just a few strategically placed postings and a keen sense of humor, he can lead the discourse in any way. This scandal will have a lasting effect and serve as a reminder that, in the era of the internet, every action is scrutinized and every voice has the ability to be heard globally. Fans are now keeping a careful eye on Deja's social media accounts for any indications of how she is handling the fallout from this storm, and many have offered words of support and encouragement as she forges on. Here, layers of fame, family, and personal freedom collide in a way that few could have expected, demonstrating the complexity of the human experience. Even if the subject is no longer in the daily news, the fundamental issues it brought up regarding autonomy, privacy, and public responsibility will be investigated for years to come. Ultimately, this was more than a celebrity scandal. It was a mirror held up to the complex relationships that characterize each of us, regardless of our celebrity or status, and a reflection of the times we live in. The world will be waiting to see what the Harris family decides to do next, and whether they are able to recover and develop despite the extreme stress they have experienced. 50 Cent, on the other hand, is prepared to move on to the next target, leaving a trail of memes and a changed narrative in his wake. This further solidifies his reputation as one of the most significant and erratic individuals in the history of contemporary media. The lessons learnt along the road will probably affect how other celebrity families handle their public and private lives in the future. The trip from a private family dispute to a worldwide media firestorm has been quick and harsh. As we wrap off this examination of the controversy, we have a better grasp of how the digital environment shapes our views and how crucial it is to preserve our sense of self in a society that is constantly observing and passing judgment. For more explosive updates on your favorite hip-hop icons, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you thought this in-depth analysis of the Harris family drama was disturbing.